All right, we are live. So, thank you guys so much for coming back and tuning in to the Travel Tip Tuesday that I have put together for you guys. We have Val the Travel Gal with us today, and thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Yeah, I know. I'm very excited to talk about, changes in the industry and just what we are expecting in the coming months. I mean, that's what is on everybody's mind because everybody's trying to itch to get out of their homes, right?
Yeah,
So
sure, I am.
yeah, we're all, just itching to leave. And I know that I took like my little road trip because I was like, get me out of Florida.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I want to get right into it. Val, what got you into the travel industry? What made you interested in taking on this, and how long have you been doing it for?
Okay, good question. So, let's see, where do I start? So I grew up in St. Lucie County and went off to UCF for college. Not to bore you with the details, but I graduated with a double major in marketing communications, and I got this amazing job while I was still in school before I graduated with Chick-fil-A, actually, as the area marketing director in Orlando. And it was actually a really great position at my point in my career path. And I loved it, but I kind of plateaued. It was one of these things where I could not really move up in the company any more than where I was at, unless I moved to Atlanta, Georgia, and pursued corporate, which was not for me, unfortunately. No offense to anybody who lives in Atlanta or from Atlanta, it's just not my scene for living, and it was too far from family. So I actually remember the day I woke up and I was like, you know what? I'm moving back home, being this area here on the Treasure Coast. I'm like, I missed home. I miss being by the beach, and I just want to go back. So I did. I moved back on a whim, probably the most risky thing I've ever done. I just quit my job and I left. And I am the type of person who can't just sit still and do nothing. So my mom actually has been in the travel industry for over 30 years. And she actually started her company from the ground up when she moved here to St. Lucie County many, many years ago. And I just was like, you know what, put me to work because I need to do something. Like, I just can't sit here. So I started working with her, actually. And she just kind of started teaching me, and I started learning. And as time went on, I really fell in love with it. And I've been like you, Lucie. I love travel. I think it's the best thing ever. And so when I knew I could do this as a possible profession, I was like, okay, like I need to look into this more. So as time went on, I did more and more certifications. And then my mom and I actually made the decision to go into business together as business owners. And we joined forces with Cruise Planners, which is the largest travel franchise in the country. So we decided to be business partners. And from that point forward, I went back to school. I got more of an education on tourism and hospitality. And I went full force into the travel industry and have not looked back since. So I'm doing what I love, clearly. I always say you have to know what your why is. Otherwise, why are you doing it? So for me, my why is, I see myself as getting to be a small part of people's biggest memories, right? So travel, I work with people every day that it's either a honeymoon that they're going on, or it's an anniversary trip, or it's a family reunion, or whatever it may be. A lot of people travel for celebrations. And even if it's just being with friends and family, right? It's just travel brings you closer, enriches your life. So to me, that's why I do what I do, because to be able to plan these vacations and these memorable journeys for people and it be something that they're going to remember for the rest of their life is a really cool opportunity, at least in my opinion. So, and I think you could agree. I always tell people, I'm like, when you look back 5 years and you say, someone asks you, what did you get for Christmas 5 years ago? I can't tell you, I don't remember, but I remember I remember the trip though I went on 5 years ago at Christmas. And so that just proves the point that memories last you forever. And that's what I really think this life is worth living for. So that's my story on why. So it's been 5 years. This is actually my 5th year now doing it. And I love it more and more every day, actually. So.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
And it's so important to just be passionate about what you're doing in general. I feel that deep down to my core, that if you do not believe in what you're doing, like you can't do it to the best of your ability at the end of the day. Like you just can't. And
Exactly.
the passion that you show, like, drew me to you because you're just you light up a room.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
I'm very passionate about traveling too, and I think, you know, those memories that you make, I mean, you learn so much by traveling, going to all these different places. And, you know, it's a shame to see, like, what's going on with the industry right now, just with in regards to that it's completely stopped, right? I mean, now we're going back in, and, you know, the industry, I know you have some stuff to talk about that, but, you know, it's just crazy to see the changes. I mean, this is something that we've never been through in every regard, healthcare wise, travel wise, life wise.
I think like all industries have been affected by this pandemic, and obviously, as you know, the travel industry has never seen this before, so this is new to all of us.
Yeah, so that actually leads into my next question, which is, what have you seen change the most in our industry, in the travel industry, due to COVID-19?
I mean, I think the biggest thing, so doing this for 5 years, you know, obviously I have experience, but I'm not a senior, you know, travel advisor. I haven't been doing this for ages. So I obviously have never seen this before. My business partner being my mother, she's been doing this for 30 years. She's been through 9/11. She was through SARS. I mean, she's seen all sorts of stuff. And still at that time, never did the cruise lines suspend travel or the airlines stopped with travel. So it's actually, I mean, this is definitely new to all of us. And it's been a learning curve, which really brings me to two observations through this time. So I think the one thing I've seen a lot of, and mainly on social media, is people saying, oh, I am so happy I use a travel advisor for my bookings, or, oh man, I really wish I did. And I think obviously a lot of people use a travel advisor to help them make their travel bookings. Otherwise I wouldn't have a job. But there's a lot of people out there that don't. And I think they don't because they don't really know what we do as travel advisors, or they actually think it's kind of like an obsolete profession that went away ages ago and it's not a real thing. So with that being said, those people typically book directly. They directly with the cruise line, if it's a cruise or a land operator, whatever it may be, they book directly online themselves, or they work with these online travel agencies, which is like kind of like third parties, kind of like Expedia, that sort of thing. Or even they book, you know, in these travel kiosks that you find in superstores like Costco and BJ's and so forth. But what they would notice during COVID-19, an experience we've never had, is that when it came down to needing to get a hold of someone, you couldn't, you know? So I saw a lot of people saying, oh my God, I was on hold for 4 hours, all the way up to 8 hours at a time, trying to find a representative to help talk to them about their booking. And they couldn't get somebody on the phone. If they did, the next time they called, it was somebody new and different. So they didn't have that personal touch. And so that's the difference when you use me, is that, you know, I'm your liaison. So I'm the liaison between you and the cruise line, you and the tour operator, whatever type of travel it is. But I ensure that you don't have to waste your time trying to handle any issues. And this was obviously one of the biggest issues we could have had thrown at us. So, you know, I was the one on the phone for 8 hours at a time working on a client's booking, but that frees up the client to do what is that they do best, their work, their life, you know? And so I think that's nice. I think in some sense, I've seen that from COVID-19 as maybe a newfound appreciation for travel advisors and all that we do. And then another thing too, I guess I could hit on is, you know, to me in life, it's not necessarily what's happened. It's how you handle what's happened. At least that's how I see it, right? So nobody saw this coming, and especially the cruise lines. Of course, nobody wanted this to happen. So all I can say is, between you and I and everybody out there on Facebook Live, I can truly say that I am super grateful to work with companies, cruise lines and tour operators that really value their clients' best interests. And I've seen nothing but that. I mean, the cruise lines, if your cruise was canceled, you got a 100% refund. Cash refund, so that's just everything right back to your card, or you were given 125% future cruise credit, meaning you could, you know, get even more money than you even spent originally on a future cruise, and they're extending these into 2022, so it's plenty of time to plan. So, you know, none of my clients actually have lost money, which is fantastic. I mean, not a single person lost money on their booking, and so I think that says a lot for the travel industry. So, you know, again, it's not something that we saw coming. It's not something we wanted to see happen, but it's not so much what happened, it's how we handle what's happened. And I think that the travel industry is really doing a great job. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It is about how you react to the situation, because your reaction matters.
Yeah.
And if you just panic, then that's not going to help anybody. It's not going to help the situation at all. So I think that's great. That's great to hear that they have done that for their clients. I know that that's been crazy with some of the. It's crazy to think that if you had booked with a travel agent, that you wouldn't even have to deal with any of that.
Yeah.
Because I have a tight schedule too, and everything like that.
I always tell people to think of me. Well, I can only talk for myself, but most travel advisors are the same. But I always say, think of me as like your free travel concierge. Everyone wants a concierge when they go to a resort. They want a butler, but it costs you extra for that, right? So to me, I always say, think of me as like your free travel concierge, because I don't charge anything for my services. So the people that booked with me, it didn't cost them anything extra, but yet I do all that legwork for you, and that's another thing too. The way I view these things is this is an experience. Travel is an experience. So I want the whole experience to be worth your time. So the experience is before, it's the booking process, it's during, it's the trip when you're gone, and then it's after, it's the memories that you have afterwards, or the follow-up that might need to be done. Because sometimes people have situations where travel insurance needed to be used and they come back from their trip and now they need the assistance to do that. And so when you book through me, I'm there for you every step of the way. And so that's the difference between working with a travel advisor and then just doing, the work online directly. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And for those joining us, feel free to ask any questions in the comments.
Please.
I think that's awesome that you are such a resource for people out there. So, where do you see the travel industry kind of going in the next few months, maybe, even as far out as you can think of?
Yeah. It's kind of a hard question, because I think all of us in the industry are actually like trying to figure that out together. But I can say the expectation kind of looks like some of the cruise lines are going to start opening up mid-June, some July. So they've all been kind of consistent with each other, but then they all have kind of varied too. So we'll see how things change. I think in these next few weeks, by the end of May, we're going to see if there's going to be any other extensions put on travel or not. But I think we're on the upswing. So, I see some cruise lines opening up again in August, and then there's word that, flights will start opening up come next month, June, for Caribbean destinations. I just was with a rep on the phone the other day, and he was saying for river cruising, at least, they've been going back and forth with the countries, and they are foreseeing to be able to start pursuing travel again in August. So I think that, only a portion of our summer might be lost when it comes to travel, but I think we'll be able to rebound here pretty soon. So that's what I'm kind of seeing, but I'm also seeing, so even like this weekend, I'm on Facebook and I see a lot of people actually posting pictures that they're at local hotels or local resorts. So that is definitely my prediction. I think people are going to start traveling domestically first. So, quick little weekend getaways like someone did recently, and, just get in the car and go on a little like weekend trip, stay at a resort. So I know just from experience with another travel advisor I'm friends with, they were at a resort this weekend and they had, certain social distancing procedures in place, but they said it was a breeze. It was easy. The people at the resort are more than willing to accommodate. So, it was actually a really pleasant experience. So that's good. So I really foresee to see more and more of that as these weeks go on, because I think everyone's itching to start traveling, and, which is great. I love seeing that. And then I think like domestic travel in general. So I've been kind of re-educating myself. I mean, all my job is education, because as you can imagine, the travel industry is changing on a day-by-day basis, especially in this situation. I can tell you when this first happened, it was like I woke up and the next morning there was something different from the day before with a policy or a change. So it's been nothing but education in my world for the last few weeks. But But with that being said, yeah, I've been educating myself a little bit more on different destinations, hotspots here in the US, places I've been or places I've sold. But it's nice to get that refresher, because then I can kind of curate these packages that, for people, if they want to go to Boston or if they want to go to the Carolinas, that we could pair them with some awesome excursions and really make it a fun domestic trip, because I think you would agree we have some really great destinations in our own backyard. So might as well enjoy that. But I think people are going to feel more comfortable to travel closer to home. Not to say that I just, I worked this week actually on a Caribbean vacation to Sandals Resorts in Jamaica for July. So, it's really going to be the people that love travel and the people that are passionate about it. I think, yeah, this is me too. This is not going to stop us necessarily. We might, take extra precaution when traveling, but yeah, for anybody who might be a little bit more hesitant, I think domestic travel will probably be something that they venture to first. And I highly suggest it. And I've seen that too. People are looking to do that because you're supporting American business too by doing that. And we need that right now. I mean, businesses all over this country need the support. So travel's a great way to do it.
So it's like support local. It's like support your local America.
Yeah. Travel everywhere, okay? But yeah, no, I think it's a good excuse to travel.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you were actually telling me about, so what's a river cruise? So you mentioned to me before about these river cruises, these local domestic ones, and quite honestly, I had never heard about it before. I think when I think cruise, and I mean, yeah, people probably also think this too, and then we probably should. I mean, why would we? But I think, oh yeah, cruise, Bahamas.
Yeah. Especially living in Florida, because it's like a hop, jump, and a skip to the Bahamas.
Yeah, it's literally like, speaking of which, could you believe that I've actually never been to the Bahamas?
Oh my God, what? We will get you there.
Shame on the traveling Lucie. Living in Florida.
I've been to like 12 countries in Europe, so I guess I'll give you a break on that.
I have traveled Europe more than I have the US, but I'm actively working on that. I have been to 10 states, and I think 4 of those have just been in the last year. So.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. Yeah. But so maybe a domestic river cruise would be your thing. So this is, for those who don't know, I mean, there's domestic river cruising right here in the States. Mainly a Mississippi River cruise. So there's different destinations, like you get to see New Orleans and you get to see, Memphis, you get to see St. Louis. I mean, there's so many spots on the map that you get to stop on these domestic river cruises, but they're fantastic because it's a one-stop shop when you cruise, right? So you don't have to get off, you don't have to repack, you don't have to, get in and out of the car because you're road tripping it. So you get on the ship once, you unpack, and then after that, you're stopping at all these wonderful destinations. But I mean, I love the river cruising feel anyways, because obviously all your meals are going to be included. Actually, beer and wine's included with every meal. Excursions are included, which is really awesome. Yeah, there's so much to river cruising, and this is comprehensive. This is Europe river cruising and this is domestic river cruising. They all have the same style to them. But yeah, these are actually upcoming cruises. We actually have Viking River Cruise that I'm actually hosting a virtual travel event with tomorrow, and he's going to be talking more about these. But they've gotten very popular. I can say they're actually booked into 2022 with these river cruise itineraries. So as you can see, the trend is to possibly cruise closer to home, not have to worry about flying and going internationally over to Europe. That's where most river cruises start and ends, is in Europe. So I am very excited, about these itineraries.
So is the size of the cruise ship on a domestic river cruise, is that the same as a normal?
So they're a bit smaller. Yeah, so they're a bit smaller, and they're definitely smaller than ocean cruise ships. So like ocean liners, as we call them, your typical like Royal Caribbean, Norwegian, Carnival, those ships are massive. So at river cruising, they're smaller ships, which means there's a smaller ratio between guests and staff. So there's more staff members to each guest that's on board the ship. So you get more of a VIP experience. A lot of people think river cruising is for like the older and elderly. Don't get me wrong, like usually they have the budget to do it, or the time, I should say, to do it. So you do see that, but it's trending differently. I mean, a lot of younger people our age are doing river cruising, especially these domestic ones, because it's close to home. And yeah, they're fantastic. I definitely highly recommend looking into them more often.
So are they normally cheaper than a cruise to somewhere else, like our domestic cruises, would you say? Or I know
It's
that's
kind of hard to say. I mean, it does cut out the international airfare, which, as we know, can be a little bit more pricey, obviously, than flying domestically, right? Or you could even drive technically to your departure port. So that is a big savings, but not necessarily. With travel, I always say it just really depends on the time of the year that you're traveling as to when you get the best rates. And that's maybe something else I can kind of, add in there is a lot of people don't realize, but for example, me particularly, I'm with Cruise Planners, so I'm also affiliated with American Express Travel. So I'm able to get better deals and rates than you actually will find online if you were to look yourself. So that's a great way to save as well, is to let me help you do the planning and the research. And the reason for that is because we're such a large company that we basically get bulk rates. We get to buy into group space, as we call it. And so it's a win-win, basically. You guys get to save money and you don't have to pay me for doing the work. So
yeah, sounds good to me.
right. So to answer your question, domestic river, can definitely be a little bit cheaper than doing like a European river cruise, mainly for the fact that you stayed on that international air. And right now I do foresee there being a lot of nice specials and deals. I know a lot of people have questions about that. Just to entice people to travel more. And again, that's all on a case by case basis as far as like when you want to travel and what they have going. But
yeah. If you're pretty flexible, I'm sure you can get a pretty good deal right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. So
that's awesome. Well, I'm gonna put in the comments the link to your Facebook event that you had mentioned. So that
thank you.
Right now, go ahead and click on that link.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. It'll be fun. It's a free virtual event. You do want to register so that way you can actually be logged into to actually be able to comment or make questions if you want to. Otherwise, I will be streaming it live to Facebook, kind of like this as well, so you can catch it on my page as well. But it'll just be a great opportunity to see videos and hear from the expert itself. I work with all these really great business development managers who are immersed in their product day in and day out. So they're just a wealth of knowledge, and they help me do what I do best. So yeah, it'll be a fun event.
That's really cool. I think that's so innovative to come up with like a virtual event to talk about these destinations that you could be going to. Right now we're at a time where we have to be very creative in what we do. Look at us right now. We're on this like little platform, right? We're talking about, COVID-19 and just everything. But these are all things that people are interested in and may not have ever known about, and really doesn't get that information out there to educate people in general.
Yeah, that was really my goal. At least for me, as being a travel advisor, obviously being hit so hard by all of these suspensions in travel, it really puts a damper on my work life, obviously. But for me, I wanted to take this time to really be able to educate people, right? Let's all stay positive during this time and daydream about travel. There's nothing more positive than that. So I wanted to help fill people's thoughts with some positivity. And, there's no reason we can't daydream now, because we're obviously going to be traveling again at some point. It's not like travel will ever disappear. I can guarantee you that. I'm no expert and I'm not a psychic, but I can tell you that people will be traveling again. And, and so that's why I wanted to do these virtual nights, because it's just, again, an opportunity. They've all been different. I've been doing them for the last couple of weeks, and they've been all different types of styles of travel, but it's just an opportunity for people to see what's out there. I realize I'm immersed in it every single day, and I have the opportunity to do these webinars constantly where I learn about new products and new travel styles, but the general public like yourself doesn't have this opportunity. You can go on YouTube and watch a quick video, but it's not interactive. It's not personal. It's not really the insight to it. So these have been opportunities for me to bring on the partners I work with, who I work really closely with, and they're just experts on what they do, experts on the destinations, and they're able to do this presentation with me, and it's just an opportunity for people to learn at home. So it's been fun, and I hope people have been enjoying them. I've been told they have.
That's awesome. It's like Netflix
Yeah.
for traveling.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, there's so much domestically too. And I know that I had planned I wanted to go to Glacier National Park.
Oh, yes.
I wanted to go there so bad. Hopefully I can still squeeze it in this year. We'll see.
Yeah. For the fall, that'd be nice.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, it would be. I mean,
and that's another thing too, Amtrak vacations, right? So you have some experience with Amtrak, and that's a fantastic. If people don't like to be on a boat, which mind you, let me add in there, river cruising, whether it be domestic or European, if you're afraid of seasickness, you don't need to worry about that on a river cruise, right? Because you're in the river. So there's no issue with that. I know that's something that scares people sometimes to cruise in general, but if you're not a cruise person, you could do rail vacations, and there's so many destinations on the map. It's crazy.
So by train is a whole other type of thing, and I love it. I did work at Amtrak for just a little bit, and I guess it was almost 2 years. I guess it was a little bit more than a little bit, but
I think you enjoyed it then, right? Because time flies when you're having fun.
I mean, it was funny. I just got to look at a map of the U.S. all day and then plan where I was going to go, and talking to people in Chicago and Portland and all these different places, and I'd be like, yeah. So what do you think about there? Oh, good. Yeah. Okay. All right.
That's awesome.
While I'm waiting for it to load or something.
Right. That's awesome. Well, those are such a good way to see like the Canadian Rockies or the Grand Canyon. You know what I mean? Like those are the national parks. That's such a cool opportunity.
It is. Our railways here aren't as extensive as I will say they aren't as extensive as they are in Europe. Anywhere on a train or a bus.
For sure.
For sure. We have quite a bit, and I remember that a lot of people would always they ask like, oh, can I go to South Dakota? And it's like, okay, because our rail lines only go a certain way. Or talking like I still work there, but Amtrak railways go a certain way, and I'll actually share with my screen really quick.
Please do.
Just so you can get like a little bit of an idea of like what in the U.S. we have here, right? Yeah. So here's the U.S. obviously. It's just really cool that you can see like this is right off of Amtrak's website. So if you go to destination. You can get the travel map there, but all the red lines are all of our rail lines here in the U.S. And all the green lines are all of the connecting throughway services through both. So it's pretty cool that
it is.
We're all the way down here, all the way down there, and then we have this whole country to look at, and goes long. I think from New York or even Chicago, like you see how Chicago is like a hub point. Right. So Chicago being that hub point, you pretty much have 3 ways or 4 ways if you want to go the really long way to get out west. And all of them are gorgeous. All of them. I
mean, that's the thing, I mean, like, I love international travel and we'll be traveling there again soon, but it's amazing. Like, we have such beauty in our own backyard. I always say that, like, there are so many spots in our own country that are gorgeous to see that people just kind of overlook. So, this is a good way to start following COVID-19. If you're a little, hesitant to go international, that, just explore. I mean, look at all those different routes that you could go. Just get on a train and go.
The Mississippi cruise is right here.
Yeah, exactly.
Somewhere through Mississippi.
You've got it. It's still on my side, but you've got it. Yeah.
Somewhere in the general direction of over there.
For sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's just it's really amazing what we have here, and I thank you for sharing that river cruise, because I would have never known about it, and I think do you know if what is down that line, like what type of sites? I mean, obviously New Orleans. I've been in New Orleans. New
Orleans is very popular. It's the French Quarter. There's Memphis, there's St. Louis, there's St. Paul. There's an itinerary that does St. Louis to St. Paul, I believe it is, or the other way around. But I mean, then you're seeing some kind of interesting sites. You're seeing like Iowa, Missouri, you're seeing a little bit more of the country life. Yeah, so there's something for everyone. If you want to do more of like the Memphis blues, or you want to do like the Cajun heritage of Baton Rouge, I mean, there is so much that you can explore on those itineraries. And it's so much that it's like a presentation in itself. But there again, I mean, I can share with you, after tomorrow's presentation, of course, I can share more details to anybody who's interested. But yeah, there's some really cool spots on the itinerary. Just get to explore like our history in this country. It's really
absolutely.
Really,
history may be short, but it is not.
Yeah.
It is not exclusive. There is plenty to see.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really cool thing to mention, and I appreciate you. Again, anybody who's watching, it is in the comments, the link to her event.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions out there about any domestic travel or just travel in general, leave them in the comments. We're working to answer your questions. Do you have anything else that you think is pertinent to add now? Maybe like going towards the future right now. I know you had talked a little bit about like people who had booked previously and them having the opportunity to be able to get their money back. What about future travel? Is there?
Yeah, so I can say, I mean, I've been working on bookings. So, again, I do cruises and land vacations. But obviously we have a lot of cruising here out of Florida. It's a very popular spot for cruising. So I do a lot of that. But I have people that are using what we call their future cruise credits and their bookings. So what I'm seeing is more so for like the fall end of the year is where people are kind of revising their trip, their vacation plans too, and then into 2021 for sure. Yeah. So it's starting to pick up more and more because soon, more and more suspensions will be lifted. And I think we're starting to see that things are slowing down. So it's not necessarily going to have more suspensions put into place that people have to worry about. But there again, like I said, it's almost like the perfect time to book. So with cruising, for example, and I'll just throw it out there, like Royal Caribbean, because I was just working on them today. So, they have extended their policies where regardless of the reason, regardless what's going on, just because of the whole COVID-19 situation, that they will allow you to cancel within 48 hours of your departure date for 100% future cruise credit. So, and this goes into sailings into 2022. So literally that's 2 years out here that they've made policy changes. So that way you don't have to worry about losing anything. So it's kind of like the ideal time to travel, because normally with a cruise, you'll pay your final payment like about 60 to 90 days prior to the departure date. At that point, you fall into penalties if you cancel. And of course, there's a whole loophole with travel insurance and so forth. But usually you're kind of at that point now that if you cancel, you're going to lose some sort of money. But to have the opportunity to cancel 48 hours prior to your departure date and not lose anything is awesome. So the fact that they've done that, is just on top of it. It's just great for the client to know that they're not going to lose money, and this is a good time to book future vacations.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Yes, cruise with confidence. That's what they call it, and that's what it is. So catchy. Yeah, for sure. So not only are they taking care of their people with canceled bookings, we had a lot of canceled bookings for spring break, and we still do into June and July, depending on which cruise line it is. Like I said, those people are getting, 100% cash refund, or they're getting 125% future cruise credit to use on travel in the future. So they're basically making money, which is awesome. So they're benefiting from it, but any traveler is benefiting from it up until 2022 for the fact that they have all this flexibility with cancellations or just with their travel plans. They don't really need to stress about it. So I think I definitely think it's going to change protocol moving forward. And it's kind of hard to give my insight as to what that would look like because it hasn't all been determined yet. I can say I'm actually doing similar to this, a panel event next Wednesday that I'm going to have leaders of the industry on. And so they're going to give kind of their insight because, again, they're immersed in their brand, they're immersed in their type of travel. So, whether it be international land travel or river cruising or ocean cruising or all-inclusive resorts to the Caribbean, they're immersed in it. So they really have the best insight. And so they're going to come on and kind of do the same thing where they're going to kind of tell us what's the expectation, what can we expect? Is there going to be new protocols in play when you travel? Are things going to change? I know cruise lines are going to do away with like buffets. That's kind of a given fact now that we seem to think that buffets will be changing, but how are they going to change that? Like, what is going to be, what's going to be in place of that for the passengers? So it's a lot of questions right now. It's a learning curve for everyone, but I think it's all good, to be honest with you. I think travel travel always rebounds in any one of these situations we've had in the past, and it's resilient. So I think we'll all appreciate traveling a bit more after this, to be quite honest with you.
No, absolutely. That's crazy. I didn't think they were going to be doing away with buffets.
That is the talk, so don't quote me, but that's the talk. And I know airlines probably requiring the masks. I know you had a flight attendant on last week. Yeah, so, having to wear the mask, and for how long this will happen. Again, I think these are all just things that we're going to establish all together as we go along. It's kind of a learning curve.
Do you think that they're going to start requiring masks on the cruise lines?
I don't know what that's going to look like. And I think that's why the cruise lines aren't going to jump. And again, this is all my opinion, so don't quote me, but I think that's why the cruise lines aren't going to jump to reopen like ASAP. I think they're taking more time. I mean, they're definitely going through all the proper channels to make sure that they abide by the CDC's rules, and that they, are doing whatever they can to prevent any sort of issue moving forward. The cruise line's got a really bad rap in the news, obviously, for what happened. So I think they're going to take a little bit more time to get their procedures in play, but I don't think so. I don't think it'll come down to that. But we'll see. To be honest, we will see. Yeah, I just know the buffets will definitely be something different. That's been talked about. Yeah.
Well, that makes sense because especially with everything going on with washing your hands and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. Lisa, do you have any questions? I see you're on here. Hi.
Hi, Lisa.
It's honestly gonna be crazy to see what differences come up now in the future. Well, I don't know. Do you have anything else to add? If anybody else,
I think that's it. I mean, again, if anyone wants, has questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I am more than happy to answer them. Even if you have travel arrangements and they weren't booked through me and you just need advice, I'm more than happy to help. I can do everything I can to assist, until to get you the answers you need. But other than that, I think we'll maybe revisit this in a few months and do this again and see how things, have progressed.
See how the world's going then.
Yeah.
Really quick, can you just tell them how they can find you? Do you have a Facebook? Like, where are you on social media?
Sure. So on Facebook, you would go to @Val the Travel Gal. Pretty easy to find. So that's my Facebook page. I'm updating it every day pretty much. I've got some events coming up. So like Lucie put in the comments, I have the virtual travel event tomorrow night, which is for, domestic river cruising here in the States. If you want to learn more about that, again, it's a free event. It's at 5 p.m. Eastern. And then next week, I haven't yet posted, but it'll be up there in just a few days. I'm doing a live panel event. It's a Facebook Live similar to this. And I will have different representatives from the travel industry on to just kind of, again, do the same thing. We're just looking to communicate with you guys. So, if you have questions or concerns, this is a great opportunity to ask the experts themselves for sure. And that's coming up as well. So that's how you can find me. Like and follow my page, Val the Travel Gal. Or website. The website is valthetravelgal.com. So you can go there and get some travel inspiration as well. So
awesome. That's very helpful. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being a guest on here today, and thank you all to you who have watched.
Yes.
So
yes, and I want to say thank you to you because for people to be such passionate travelers like you, us travel advisors really appreciate that, because that's what's going to keep travel alive. That's what's going to keep travel going, is people that are super passionate about it and understand how important it is for us to have in our lives. Like you said, it enriches us, it teaches us, we learn new cultures, we connect with new people. I mean, travel is an amazing thing, and it's one of the biggest things for our economy too. Tourism is huge for our economy. So, again, think of it when you think about your travel arrangements, like another good reason to book domestically, just to support our American business. So
absolutely. And For those of you who are watching, if you enjoyed this, you will be able to replay this and go ahead. If you're watching on Facebook, like my Facebook page. If you're watching, subscribe to my YouTube channel. We are doing this every week with new guests that are going to give you their insight on what traveling is going to be like after COVID-19. So it's been a pleasure, guys. And thank you so much, Val, for being here.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. I'm glad I got to spend my night with you. Now I'm excited for us to hang out in person. So that'll happen here soon, and we'll get you to the Bahamas.
Yes, definitely will. Well, thank you for watching, everyone out there, and I will talk to you guys next week on Travel Tip Tuesday.
Bye. Thanks.